The Book of Enoch stands before us as a striking example of spin-off literature, spanning over 100 chapters and thousands of words. Yet its foundation rests upon a biblical figure who is barely mentioned in the Hebrew Bible: Enoch. In the canonical Jewish scriptures, information about him is extremely sparse. Genesis briefly notes him in Adam's genealogy, stating simply that after Enoch fathered Methuselah and other children, Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. This cryptic statement naturally raises questions. Shouldn't there be more backstory? What exactly does God took him mean? Early Jews and Christians rarely settled for such ambiguous biblical passages, and this very ambiguity sparked the creation of Enoch's literary spin-off, the Book of Enoch. The text became so influential among the earliest Christians that the New Testament itself contains direct references to it. The Epistle of Jude, the penultimate book of the New Testament, explicitly quotes First Enoch chapter 1:9. Yet, despite its significance in antiquity, the Book of Enoch remains largely unknown today. This prompts a natural question: what exactly is the Book of Enoch, and what does it truly contain? First, it's important to clarify that there isn't just one Book of Enoch. The term usually refers to First Enoch, but there are also two Enoch, likely composed in the 1st century CE, though preserved in later Church Slavonic manuscripts, and three Enoch, a Hebrew text maintained within Rabbinic Judaism. This discussion will focus on First Enoch. Notably, calling it simply the Book of Enoch is somewhat misleading. First Enoch is actually a compilation of several distinct texts. Sharp transitions between its sections strongly suggest that an ancient editor stitched together pre-existing compositions. First Enoch comprises 5 major sections and 2 appendices. Its earliest fragments likely date to the 4th or 3rd century BCE, while the most complete manuscripts, written in Ge'ez, the classical Ethiopian language, come from the 15th or 16th century. Ge'ez is a Semitic language closely related to Hebrew, Arabic, and Amharic, a modern spoken language of Ethiopia. Like Latin in Roman Catholicism or Coptic in Coptic Orthodoxy, Ge'ez serves as the liturgical language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The textual journey of First Enoch is remarkable. It was probably originally composed in Aramaic, later translated into Greek, and finally into Ge'ez. Significant Aramaic fragments were discovered among the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran. One scroll even combines multiple sections of Enoch, proving that by the 1st century BCE, these texts were already circulating as a unified compilation. In total, about 90 manuscripts of First Enoch exist in various forms, but some differ substantially from earlier versions. Thus, anyone seeking to read it should rely on a scholarly translation that accounts for all manuscript variants. In summary, First Enoch is a composite work, likely first written in Aramaic, with parts dating as early as the 4th century BCE, though its fullest form survives only in much later Ethiopian manuscripts. But what about its content? What does First Enoch actually say? As noted, it's best understood as spin-off literature. It takes 2 tantalizingly brief passages from Genesis and expands them into an elaborate narrative of cosmic visions and supernatural drama. The first is the enigmatic verse about Enoch being taken by God. The second, found in Genesis chapter 6, 1 through 4, describes the sons of God, B'nai Elohim, descending to earth, mating with human women, and producing offspring called the Nephilim, described as the mighty men of old, men of renown. That's all Genesis offers. No further details about who these beings were, what the Nephilim did, or why this happened. For ancient interpreters, such gaps were invitations to imagine more. First Enoch answers this call in its opening section, the Book of the Watchers. Here, the sons of God become a group of rebellious angels called the Watchers, led by their chief, Shemhazai. Their offspring, the Nephilim, are monstrous giants who wreak havoc on earth. According to First Enoch 7:3, the giants began to kill and devour people, and then they killed beasts and drank their blood, a scene worthy of a horror film. The Watchers are also depicted as cunning beings who corrupt humanity by teaching forbidden knowledge. Azazel instructs humans in warfare and metallurgy. Shemhazai teaches sorcery. Others reveal astrology and cosmetics. First Enoch 8. As chaos spreads, humanity cries out to God for help. In response, God dispatches 4 archangels. One to warn Noah of the coming flood. Another, Raphael, to bind Azazel and cast him into darkness. Gabriel to annihilate the Nephilim. Go to the bastards, the half-breeds, the sons of the Watchers, and destroy them. First Enoch 10, verse 9. And Michael to imprison Shemhazai. Throughout this narrative, Enoch acts as God's messenger, sent to warn the Watchers of their impending doom. The rest of First Enoch consists largely of prophetic and mystical visions. Rather than summarizing every chapter, it's more useful to highlight recurring themes: the coming of a Messiah, the certainty of final judgment, hope for resurrection, and celestial journeys. These are hallmarks of Jewish apocalypticism, a literary genre that flourished during the Second Temple period, 516 BCE to 70 CE. Apocalyptic texts typically feature heavenly revelations delivered by angels, unveiling secrets of the end times and divine judgment. First Enoch is among the oldest examples of this genre, predating even the Book of Daniel. According to scholarly consensus, if Daniel was composed in the 2nd century BCE, then key messianic concepts traditionally associated with it, such as the Son of Man and the Messiah, actually appear first in First Enoch. In one vision, Enoch sees the Son of Man as a cosmic judge. He shall be a staff to the righteous, a light to the nations, and all who dwell on earth shall fall down and worship before him. First Enoch 48:4. To New Testament readers, this language sounds strikingly familiar. Yet in this passage, it is Enoch himself who is identified as the Son of Man. You are the Son of Man who was born for righteousness. First Enoch 71:14. Additionally, First Enoch introduces the concept of hell, a theological idea absent from the earliest layers of the Hebrew Bible, but widely developed during the Second Temple period. In First Enoch 21:7, Enoch sees a narrow chasm leading to a fiery abyss, a great fire burning and blazing, reserved as an eternal prison for fallen angels. In essence, First Enoch is a sweeping vision of a world corrupted by evil, awaiting divine judgment and ultimate renewal. It proclaims the nearness of a new age and God's final reckoning. What happened to this extraordinary text after antiquity? First Enoch profoundly influenced late Second Temple Jews, early Christians, and even early Muslims. Within Judaism, it shaped other non-canonical works like the Book of Jubilees, also found at Qumran and preserved in Ge'ez. Yet, despite its early importance, First Enoch played almost no role in later rabbinic Judaism. The rabbis rejected 2 core ideas from Enochic literature: that Enoch never died, and that rebellious angels descended during the time of Noah. Consequently, First Enoch was excluded from the Hebrew Bible and appears only rarely and usually negatively in rabbinic texts. A notable exception is Third Enoch, a rabbinic-era text that describes Enoch's transformation into the angel Metatron, even calling him the Lesser Yahweh. But this idea made many rabbis uneasy. The Babylonian Talmud recounts a story where a rabbi is declared a heretic for seeing Metatron seated in heaven and concluding there are two powers in heaven, a notion the Talmud firmly rejects. Interestingly, medieval Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah, took a more favorable view. The Zohar, a foundational Kabbalistic text, not only praises Enoch, but compares him to Adam and cites First Enoch to interpret ambiguous biblical verses. Scholar Annette Yoshiko Reed suggests this reflects ongoing Jewish-Christian dialogue in late antiquity, as Christians clearly valued the book. Indeed, early Christians held First Enoch in high regard. The Epistle of Jude quotes it directly, and its influence is detectable in the Gospels and Revelation. The Son of Man concept in Mark echoes First Enoch and Revelation's throne room visions, and final judgment closely parallel Enoch's apocalyptic imagery. Church fathers like Justin Martyr and Irenaeus cited it, and Tertullian defended its authority. The non-canonical Epistle of Barnabas even called it Scripture. But by the 4th century, its status declined. Influential theologians like Augustine and Jerome rejected it. By the 7th-8th centuries, First Enoch survived only in Ethiopia, where it remains canonical to this day. The Ethiopian Orthodox Bible includes over 81 books, making its canon significantly broader than other Christian traditions, and First Enoch has left a deep imprint on Ethiopian Christian thought. Enoch's legacy extends beyond Judaism and Christianity. In Islam, the prophet Idris, mentioned twice in the Quran, is traditionally identified with Enoch. The Quran states, "And mention Idris in the book. Indeed, he was a man of truth and a prophet. And we raised him to a lofty station." 1556-57. Like Genesis, this is tantalizingly vague. Many Muslim commentators debate what a lofty station means. One hadith recounts that during the Prophet Muhammad's night journey, Isra and Miraj, he met Idris on the 4th heaven. Others interpret the verse to mean Idris was taken bodily to heaven, mirroring Genesis 5:24's claim that God took him. Thus, though Enoch receives only a fleeting mention in Genesis, that single, seemingly minor reference inspired an entire literary universe, one that shaped the Qumran community, early Christians, early Muslims, Jewish mystics, and Ethiopian believers for centuries. And while few read First Enoch today, its apocalyptic ideas, hell, salvation, the Son of Man, messianic hope, laid the theological groundwork for core doctrines of Christianity.